People have no right to be mad at millionaires/billionaires who don't want to give away thier money. I've always seen people complain about how rich people should give their money away to help those who need it. And more often than not, these people act as if they absolutely have to give their money away, like they're entitled to it or something. And while I'm a firm believer in giving to those who need it if you can, no one is obligated to give anybody anything. A lot of these people had nothing and worked really hard to get where they're at and what they have. And seeing people tell others what to with their money that they didn't have to work for makes me feel some type of way. I agree for the most part. What does annoy me is when rich people, usually celebrities, are on some type of fundraising platform urging people who live paycheck to give whatever they can for whatever they are raising funds for. You're rich. You could give $1 million without batting an eyelash. You have the nerve to ask your fans to give money that could make them need to skip a meal to give, while you're standing there wearing jewelry worth more than what they make in 5 years. Turning charity into an obligation is what makes tipping so hated. People do have the right to be mad at rich people who avoid taxes though. I don't know, I think capital gains tax should be higher, but I also think people don't understand how stocks work when they say Jeff Bezos is making more than you'll make in a year every day. That's only valuable if you sell it. The government can't just tax him his company holdings, that would be socializing the company. I sympathize with your view, and I'd be more likely to embrace it if I didn't see those same millionaires and billionaires typically telling me they think I should give away a lot of things that are rightly mine. How many millionaires and billionaires say I should give up everything from gun ownership, to speech rights, be denied employment if I engage in wrong think, and more. Hell, how many of them think I should have higher taxes, either to pay for projects they like but don't want to pay for themselves, or to discourage me from doing something they dislike. Wealth is not created in a vacuum, even if the people who are wealthy work hard. I do have a right to be mad that Walmart won't at least pay their employees a fucking living wage, nor provide them benefits. Why? Because you and I pay for their food stamps and their Medicare because the Waltons won't. And then on top of that, they don't want to be charitable? It's a fucking disaster, dude. The illusion that wealth is all because of one person's work is false, and the idea that building wealth is 100% ethical is also false. I am tired of greed getting normalized. We do have a right to tell people who have taken advantage of others and who rip off taxpayers what to do with their money because it does directly affect us, whether you can see it or not. Rights are absolute on paper. In reality, if needed, governments change the rules, by the will of people, as happened several times over time, including U.S. Capitalism is not a perfect system, so we should take wealth accumulation with a grain of salt. It's the system that worked the best, not the best system possible. People will revolt if the system is not working good enough. Nobody wants that. In the 60s, tax on the rich was much higher than nowadays. And nowadays it's a good time to go back. Purchase power is low and productivity high. Something not okay. I pay my little percentage of taxes. They pay their little percentage of taxes. Our roads still have potholes and terrible condition. Our plows can only plow the couple of main roads in my town. Most the schools are run down. They need more tax money to address these issues. Between my mortgage, car payment, insurance, heat, water, I don't have any more to give. We get some limited assistance for food for my 2 boys, and that goes a very long ways. Why should I be expected to pay more? I can't. Full on, my mortgage is late right now as it is. Now why can't the couple of extremely rich families around here pitch in slightly more? A 1% increase? For me that's extremely noticeable. The second to last sentence is not necessarily true. I assume you're in the US, our socioeconomic mobility is less than ideal compared to other countries, and obviously people have the right to complain, even if they're not correct. Edit, I was wrong about billionaires and millionaires. I wasn't really wrong about socioeconomic mobility as far as I can tell, and when they do give it away there's always the people who complain they didn't give it to the right people and try to shame them into giving more. Perhaps many people you see complaining are simply passing judgment. You see one person with the means to help another and they choose not to do so. If I see a bus coming and a child standing in the road, do I yell out or assist the child? Or do I figure that child is not entitled to receive my help and I don't have to, so I look away? Would someone watching me process that decision judge my actions? Without a legal obligation to help those in need, the one thing as a society we have left is the general agreement it is the moral thing to do. Why would people give away money? That's dumb. It's not really that they want to take their money. It's more they feel like one person's job isn't 1,000 times more important. So why should they receive more than 1,000 times the pay? A minute wage employee takes home $20,000 a year. The CEO, who would have no job without those PPL, shouldn't be able to take home $20,000 a year. That's only 20 mil. Some pay employees less and take home billions. Or they could give a decent livable wage to all in the company and take home millions. If you can't live on a salary of 20 million, something is wrong. Agree, and to those of you who say shit like Bill Gates didn't earn his money, you're wrong. He started a company that became successful. That is earning your money. I'd agree if millionaires/billionaires paid their taxes like the rest of us, but they don't cause they're given special treatment. I totally agree with you, no one is obligated to give out their money lol. There is a lot to be said about that, as you just showed how oversimplified political ideas can lead to misunderstanding. And BTW, this is a common misconception people make regardless of their political affiliation. First, it is not the millionaires/billionaires' fault to be rich. Some of them achieved wealth in their lifetime, most of them inherited wealth. Some of them tend to make decisions for a pluralistic benefit, some of them work against the interest of the majority. Long story short, humans are humans. But here we start with problem number 1, we live in a structure where wealth equals power, producing an environment where decisions are mainly based on economics, highly favoring the already well-off part of the population. This is a fact established by countless studies of a multitude of sources, dependencies, and political affiliations. I state that as if you disagree with that, we are not talking about opinion anymore but a lack of knowledge. Problem number 2, there are two forms of welfare. A modern society accepts the fact that welfare is a necessary concept, e.g., to provide for people not able to provide for themselves. While this is not a question in general, the cut-off point is a political topic. While nearly no one questions whether disabled people in wheelchairs should receive help, it gets more difficult when we talk about topics like health care for undocumented immigrants, etc. What most people don't realize though is the welfare at the top. How much of our taxes are used to finance the billions in bonds a baby of the 1% inherits? How much for the tax cuts states offer to keep corporations local? Or in other terms, how much would have to be taken away before we actually take away wealth is in itself a legitimate question. This is a question of opinion, of course, but what needs to be understood is that more of your tax money finances the wealthy than the poor. Problem number 3, proven fallacies in economic theory. Some sciences are philosophical, some empirical, none political. Unfortunately for most of us, we tend to look at market theory as the later. When we would take history into account, the same people screaming communism never worked should also realize that the trickle-down effect is a nice theory but has been proven to be wrong every single time it was predicted to take effect. Self-stabilizing market factors when it comes to pricing as a result of demand and supply, as we all are perfect homo economici, also never worked in reality. The fact that we now call that libertarianism and that its principles still sound logic does not change that observation. Likewise, accumulated wealth works against economic growth when not spent, or worse, when spent outside of the home market. There are some solutions in place to trigger reinvestment into the economy, namely how investments are deducted from taxes. However, whenever an offshore investment is deducted, it multiplies the problem rather than solving it. Long story short, we are paying for wealth not distributed directly, taxes, and indirectly, inflation. To provide a more complete picture, one would have to include how money is actually generated, as well as the problematic principle of requiring endless economic growth in order to remain a stable market. Problem number 4, their money. Possession and ownership are two different legal terms for a reason. One of the most interesting observations is that successful, not necessarily extremely rich, people seem to have a different understanding of what their money is than the majority. If you understood and researched the points I made above, you will at least understand that my personal political position is not motivated by taking away someone's money. No, I want it to stop that our money is being taken away from me/us by the super rich. And this for the very same reason you are opposed to forced welfare, not because I blame or hate, but because I think they have enough that they do not require my financial support. Except the millionaires and billionaires didn't work to make that money. They exploited a system that allowed them to steal money from millions of workers around the USA, then spent that money convincing those with 0.01% of the wealth they have that the people with 0.000000001% are the problem. For example, at my job last year, everyone got an 85-cent per hour raise, down from $1. The CEO got a 150% raise and lost the company money. He received enough of a raise to give everyone in the company a $2 an hour raise.